town of X does this, therefore we should be doing X. It's really understanding what the differences are, and where there's something positive to be learned, we should take advantage of it. And if there's a reason why we're spending more or less in an area, to have a good understanding of why. So I'm encouraged. I think you know, the meeting that we had was a little bit of a disaster because the representative from Instant Benchmarking failed to come to the meeting, but I think that we still have an opportunity to use the tool, and we should be using it during this budget process. And in fact, I think we owe the community another opportunity to have them ask their questions of municipal benchmarking. So with that, I'd like to get the input from those board members that weren't at the finance. Your thoughts and concerns, Mr. Vino?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Mr. Chair. And again, I want to reiterate, you did a fine job that night, turning a disaster into a well-run meeting for not having any preparation or expecting what happened. I definitely want to have them back. I think it is a good idea to give them time to meet with the department heads and let's get these figures straightened out. But I want to put a little pressure on them too. I don't want them to slide. And, oh yeah, we'll do it in a month or two. We'll do it in a month or two. I want to. They owe us, and I want to be sure we get what we paid for. But I definitely think we have another public meeting. I'm very flexible on the date. I don't have a problem doing it on a special night again, like we did the last time. But if the board wants to do, I'm flexible.
Just like to echo what Mr. Vino said. I'm no problem doing it on a special night or anything. But I'm also like to, Mr. Gardino said, put it somewhere before the holidays because it's already people seem to be.
The reason for doing it on a Monday night versus the middle of the week, which we're sure that we can find out middle of the weekday to meet, was that a lot of the people that don't necessarily come to it do watch either the school committee or the Board of Selectmen's meeting on the public access. And the thought was if we chose to do it there, there would be more people watching and listening to the information. If it's on a special night, a lot of people may miss it altogether.
I'm flexible most of the day, right?
Yes, Steve.
I concur. I think it should be before the holidays if at all possible. But I'd also like to see it, and maybe hear from the town administrator, as to the commitment that's going to be made by the administration to have the department heads cull through the report, not just to look at what might be some discrepancies, but also to look at some of the comparisons with other communities where we are off, so that they can get a better understanding. I mean, we're going to start into the budgetary process, something we're already starting into the budgetary process, and it may lend some food for thought in relation to how we're doing business. It might not be for this fiscal year, but the coming fiscal year, so we've got to start the process somewhere. I just want to make sure that that the administration, we on our side, take some responsibility of utilizing this tool that we've invested in, taking a look at it, and the sooner the better. And this is a terrific opportunity whereby they missed the meeting, so that we have an opportunity to get them back. And we're going to get them back at a stage of the game where we've had a chance to, I would hope, digest the information, take a look at it, not just to point out some discrepancies in the numbers, but also allow our department heads to really engage these people as to where the differences may be and where they may lie. And maybe even contact some of these other communities where things are done a little differently in prioritizations there. I'd like to take advantage of them and again put the pressure on the administration to prioritize this now, rather than digesting it and letting it collect the information over a longer period of time. I'd rather put it on the front burner now. Utilize the resources of these people that owe us additional meeting to glean the most out of it in the shortest period of time.
Greg?
And one of the things, one of the things we talked about, I think, is very important. Very important to the accuracy of this is not is that some of the issues that department heads have raised are valid issues that are not aren't really numbers issues, okay? They have to do with, you know, approaches and other information. And I think that what we want to do is we want to encourage, I think, the municipal benchmarking to do a more of a narrative as well, explaining what some of these differences are, where the differences are not, you know, such as the police chief's indication that his budget reflects the details. Well, I think that all the budgets should reflect the details, so it's supposed to stay in there, okay? But the idea that 62 was a big project and there was more details perhaps here than there would normally be, that's a valid concern that ought to be reflected somehow. So some of this stuff is not just, but I think the idea is to get the department heads into a meeting where they're prepared, they're ready, they've got their objections, they've got their problems. So because you're only talking less than a month, and you're only in a holiday in the middle of that, we really do have to get everybody moving in order to hit that deadline. But I like setting a deadline. I like you know, pushing them to get this thing done. I agree.
I agree with that, even in relation to some of the nuances in the report. I mean, you get in the fire department, I mean, compared to, we asked them for lithium, it's a totally different operation in Linfield than it is in North Reading. And those types of things, our department heads generally know, some of them, right off the bat. And that's okay, which helps explain why there's some significant differences and variances in the findings. So I don't care, we don't have to match up with these other towns, but I'd like to be able to, at least be able to have our department heads understand their area of expertise and where the variables come in and what came into play. And I think that's important.
So the two dates that
But I would
we
like to
had
hear
talked
from the
about
administration
were the
about-
third, were the 3rd and 10th, is in December. Don't look at your calendar, it's off that much.
I'd like to do the 10th.
Greg,
This next week.
well, let's hear from Greg. You know, I mean, the burden falls back on
Yeah,
administration.
from my perspective, the report has been made available to the municipal departments. They've gone through it, they've raised their concerns. I'm confident that all department heads will be able to intelligently engage in a dialogue relative to the findings in the municipal benchmarking report. Beyond that, I'm not necessarily sure how they will, as department heads, whether they will ever truly say that they don't object to the findings that are in there. I look at the report probably different than you. I look at it as a value as being an internal document to guide budget decisions going forward versus a public document. However, if you decide you want to make it a public document and have a public discussion, that's fine. But from a department perspective, I prefer using it as an internal report to prioritize future budget decisions that may be forthcoming. Please understand that for the presentation that took place on the 15th of October, each department head was spoken to. We brought it up at department head meetings. Department heads were giving explicit and detailed instructions how they were to raise their objections. And they forgot all about that when we went into that meeting. So there was a level of hand-holding and a level of frustration on my end that went into that meeting that did not prove what our intentions were. Our intentions were very honorable going into that meeting, and everyone forgot what they were told. And I don't know how else to say it, Stephen, other than the fact that people were told that they had objections to raise them in a civil manner, and they forgot all about that. And, you know, to have another go-around, I think you'll find people will react better to that. And I have no doubt that they'll react better to that, but, you know, I was disappointed with how they reacted the first time.
Well, we can't forget that the author of the report wasn't there
Yeah.
to explain, right?
I don't have a problem. I don't want to see this as being adversarial, because it isn't. It wasn't the genesis of the whole
I agree.
project here. And it, you know, it's a tool to allow us to work and look at things a little bit differently. And we shouldn't be trying to poke holes in it. You know, if there are problems with it, that's fine. Those can be fixed and addressed, that's fine. But I just think it's important to take it in the vein that it's being presented and that we funded it for, and that it shouldn't be an adversarial type relationship between the people we contracted with and the town of North Reading and department heads. It's just
Would have gone down. Would have gone down much smoother
Right,
if
would
he
have
was
been
there
easier if
and
they
he
were
was
there.
addressing the issues.
But I think we've had the opportunity of additional time now to take a look at it and approach it in the proper perspective and in a little different venue, whereby just sit down, chit chat with the guy and explain the nuances. And it is a public document, and it should be a public document, and if someone in the public wants to raise some sort of an issue, you know, how come with this and that town's doing that, our department head should be fairly well prepared to explain the nuances. And we should be well prepared to say, you know, that's where we've established our priorities, or we haven't decided to spend our money here, we decided to spend it there. And this will assist us in doing so.
Well, and the document can be used both internally and externally.
Right.
In different way. So it's the 3rd or the 10th are the 2 December dates. After that, forget it.
The 10th, Mr. Chair, I would not be available, but go forward with it. I don't want you to hold it up a
Well,
week or a month.
our
just
regular
for-
meeting would be on the 4th. The school board is meeting, their regular first meeting, I think, in December is the 10th. At first, they thought they'd be talking about the budget. They weren't too happy about the 10th, but I think they backed off of it after Mr. Nelson said that they would be just getting preliminary
Well, if
information,
you-
similar to us getting our budget books.
If you decide the 10th, that's fine with me, but I won't be available for that, for the 10th. That I know.
Anyone else have a preference?
That's fine.
If it's the 10th, it would probably be, it doesn't matter. It's going to be over the school anyway. What?
Third's okay. I have to be in Sturbridge that night, the 3rd.
I think the 10th probably would work better for people trying to get together, get the information together, and maybe have some sort of an addendum to the report from the benchmarking people. And again, you've got a holiday with Thanksgiving coming up.
I can't make the 10th. The 3rd would work okay.
Oh, I just don't think
It says
doesn't matter.
3rd.
I can make either one.
Who can make the 3rd?
I can make the 10th.
Everybody, who can make the 10th? Just the 3 of us. It'll be the 3rd. Unless there's some issue on the other side. I'll get back to you. Okay.
Will it be at the school?
Yes, it'll be at a small group room, as far as I know. Provided, no one raised an issue of it being unavailable that evening, so far. Okay, town administrator's report, which you have a copy. Turn it over to Mr. Belknap.
Good evening again. Give me a second to find the report. It's fairly brief. I have a couple of add-ins that I'll put on the back end of the presentation. The town will be conducting a internal training session through the National Incident Management Systems. This is for our department heads, so the town can be in compliance with the Presidential Homeland Security Directive of 2004. There's been a lot of discussion about this, and all of our first responders have to be trained, NIMS trained, and in-house training has been completed with those individuals. The final phase of our training is for department heads and supervisors, and that has to be completed in calendar year 2007. So we will complete that. We'll complete it this month. We'll do all of our reporting to the appropriate state and federal agencies, and we'll be compliant. And this is something we have to do. We don't have a choice. Conceivably, the town would not be eligible to receive state and federal Homeland Security funds if it failed to do so. So just a note to you that we'll proceed with the training. I think it's important to have it completed, have our department heads trained, have all of our first responders trained.
Greg, in the written notes here, it says the in-house training program is being run for the fire chief or by?
Oh, the fire department and the fire chief is running it. So the fire chief
So it's
is
by the fire chief?
Fire chief organizes it, he'll make the
So
presentation.
it's just a type.
And we have to take a test, so we'll take the test every now and
Next question, please.
Yes.
Right. We did this last year. Is this a yearly thing? Is it required
then.
every year?
No,
or
there's
is it-
different levels of training that are required for different
Okay.
positions. The municipal employees, the department heads would be taking the 700 training, which is the base level basic, and the 100 level.